I'm going to make my millions one day. I'll be 90. I'll finally get my first check from YouTube. All right. Well, welcome back to episode 2 of the Minimal Effort Podcast.
Yay, we made it.
We made it. It's only like a week later, right? So not doing too bad.
Hey, I was thinking if we could get one a week, then that would be fine.
Yeah, it's like our sex life. Okay, so we suffered through 2 hours of Rings of Prime last night, back to back, and then guess whose idea it was to watch She-Hulk after we went to bed at like 12 o'clock?
My brilliant idea.
Yes, your brilliant idea. So we'll get to that in the second half of this video. But let's start off with this epic trolling by House of the Dragon, releasing the first episode free on YouTube yesterday, the same day Rings of Prime premiered.
I love it.
I mean, honest to God, it's kind of a dick move, but I feel like it's something if I don't know, it's like, you know, Xbox and PlayStation have that rivalry where it's like PlayStation announces, hey, we're raising our price, and then Xbox is like the next day, oh, we have a big news to release. We're not raising our price. You know, I mean, I love that kind of shit. I don't know.
No, this was funny.
So, yeah, basically, you know, the show came out, we watched it. It's got so many issues, both from a standpoint of being a TV show on its own and being like a Lord of the Rings prequel. I don't even know where to begin on that. But what we have... At the
beginning.
Yeah, well, okay, what we got now is Amazon Prime, which I didn't even know about this till like 20 minutes ago. They actually suspended the user ratings temporarily because of review bombing. I don't know what the ratings were at. Like, I didn't even...
They must have been really low.
They had to have been low.
Yeah.
Because we got done watching it, and it didn't even occur to me to review it on Amazon. Like I did IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, gave my honest opinion. I'm like, oh shit, I could have gone on here and done it. Well, no, I mean, they've got this is locked down. Like, if you go down here in the details, 0 customer reviews, 0 ratings.
That's just such a cop-out.
Oh, I know. It's like, come on, Jeff. Come on, Mr. Bezos. You spent $1 billion making this shit. People either are going to love it or hate it. You got to own it at this point.
Then most people hate it.
I'm going to say most people were like me, where they went out hating it, like before it even aired, and then it turned into indifference.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I've landed on this. So let's go through this fantastic article that you found, because this is a gold mine, and then we'll kind of share our thoughts, I guess, if that works.
Okay.
So this one from the AV Club, it's pretty long to put on a video, so I'm just going to kind of skim through it and hit the highlights. It's titled "Staring Down the Trolls: What's Really Behind the Battle Over the Rings of Power." Toxic fans have been trying to sink Amazon's big ticket series, but their motives and their influence are raising new questions. This would be like if the captain of the Titanic, who should have steered out of the way of the iceberg, hit the iceberg and then said, oh, it's all these toxic people on our boat. It's all these toxic guests we have. It's really their fault.
Well, and this came out before it aired.
This came out Tuesday at 9 a.m. So, you know, I've seen this argument like, well, why do you hate it before it's even released? And then after it's released, they go, well, why do you hate it just to hate it? Other side of the question, why are people standing for it before it's even released?
Right.
Like, okay, I can understand people saying, be objective, try to not, make up your mind too early on, give it a chance, blah, blah, blah. And I was planning on approaching it with that mindset until, Lenny Henry and, is it Morfred? What's her freaking name?
Morfred?
Morfred? I don't know. Morfred Clark, Lenny Henry, and a few other people came out and were like, oh, you just hate it because there's black people and there's strong women and you're all sexist and F you if you don't like this, get out of here. And it's like, honest to God, watching it last night, I'm like, the people of color, which I hate that term, that were in the show, it didn't even cross my mind because there was so much other shit that I hated. It's like, okay.
No.
All right, so article that came out 9 a.m. on Tuesday, 2 days before the show even aired. Here we go. Where do we start at? I don't even know where to begin.
I don't know.
Okay, so While backlash campaigns to revivals of popular franchises have been growing in the past few years, particularly when those projects touch on inclusivity, the digital trolls seem to have dialed up their intensity in the lead up to the Rings of Power, which finally arrives this week after years of development. Which is funny because they didn't purchase the rights to this, the appendices in Return of the King to make this show until after Christopher Tolkien died. And the shittiest part is that they released the show on the anniversary of J.R.R. Tolkien's death. I'm like, talk about like adding insult to injury. But anyways, let's continue on. The good news, outside of that small subset of the fandom, or in some cases of people who had their own more nefarious agenda, you getting some January 6th vibes here?
Right.
The effort doesn't seem to be making much of a dent in the high expectations for this series. God, I want to see the follow-up to this article. I want to see the Cope and
There probably won't be one.
Oh, there's got to be one. It might be tempting to chalk up these social media skirmishes to fight between loyal fans who simply want to preserve the integrity of the thing they love and a multinational corporation looking to cash in on that devotion with little understanding of the work that inspired it. End article. That is literally what happened.
Yeah.
To a T. And then she continues, to be fair, that's partly true. By all accounts, it'll be estimated to cost $1 billion. Let's not pretend their goal is to make money, yada, yada, yada. Okay. It's a tall order for the showrunners. I'll skip over this because it's just more fluff. The showrunners, who, by the way, between the two of them, don't have shit for credits. They've done, like, nothing in their career other than, like, I think they came from Bad Robot, from J.J. Abrams.
Oh, okay.
The failure himself. Okay. The guy who admitted after helping ruin the Star Wars sequels that they didn't really have a direction and had no clue where they were going with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is the pedigree that these people come from. Predictably, some have used their criticisms as a smokescreen for their own racist and sexist reactions. From the moment in February when Vanity Fair dropped the first images from Rings of Power, a series of lavishly shot and detailed character portraits and posters, there's been a steady stream of grumbling about the inclusion of actors of color and the portrayal of the elven Lady Galadriel, one of the few characters carried over the stories adapted in Peter Jackson's films. I wish they had left it alone, as a warrior in a suit of armor. Now, here's the thing about these early thoughts. Do you remember when The Witcher got their early release photos?
No.
You don't remember those photos? We should look them up. Because, I don't know if you remember this or not, we were talking about the show because I was a big fan of the third game, and I was so excited for it, and then they released the initial look at the first look photos.
Yeah.
I cringed. I hated the photos.
Yeah, I don't remember them.
Oh, they were bad. Out of context, not being on a set, not being filmed, and not being part of the show, just the photos of the three characters, Yennefer, Ciri, and Geralt on their own, I was like, ugh, no, what is this, you know? So those first initial, those fluff pieces, those photos, those are like, they're never necessarily the way that things are going to look post-production, you know?
No.
It's like reading the middle of someone's diary. It's like taking
it's like
things
when
out of
they
context.
released Sonic and stuff, and everybody was like, no, you have to change everything.
Okay, but to be fair, they actually listened, and they
Right.
did need to change Sonic, and they did fix him, and that saved the movie.
See, and that's the problem with this, is that they released everything, people gave their opinions, and then they just kept it. So what you got in all the promo stuff is what you watched last night. It wasn't any better.
I get what you're saying there. So, like, for me, it's like, you know, comparing photos to the finished product, that's one thing. But like you're saying, when something is wrapped up and it's in post, like the Sonic, and they're done and ready to go, and then people see it, and you go, okay, shit, maybe we should change things? Yeah. Rings of Power, it was done. It was already that, like, okay, we've wrapped this. We're gonna push this out here. We're gonna advertise for 6 months, and then we're just gonna drop it and sit and hope and pray that it works.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so she continues on. These critics may not believe labels like racist and sexist apply to them, but their opinions give them away. I am so sick and freaking tired of this opinion. Look, I'm going to say this real quick because I probably will forget to say it later. I have an issue with them race swapping characters. I had an issue with it in The Witcher. I have an issue with it in Lord of the Rings. I would have had an issue with it in anything like Blade or Black Panther if they put a Mexican or a white guy in the place of the black main character. I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
You need to refer to the source material if you don't want to piss fans off. You're not allowed to come into a fandom and then be like, oh, well, you're just this or that. No, you came into the fandom. You pushed the people out that liked it the way it was, and then you project on them your own racist bigotry by acting like there's something inherently wrong with being a fan of something.
Mm-hmm.
So people that said like, oh, well, look, the actor for, I can't remember his name, the forgettable elf with the short hair, the Hispanic or black guy that played the elf. He was like, well, now you can't say that there's an elf. There's never been an elf of color. Well, is Lord of the Rings literally the only fictional mythology of any kind that had elves? Is it the only one that's ever existed? No.
Oh.
There's thousands of them between card games, computer games, video games, fantasy novels, movies, TV shows. There's hundreds of other things that have black elves. They just don't exist in Tolkien.
Yeah.
You can say that makes J.R.R. Tolkien racist. I know it doesn't, but you can have that opinion. But saying, well, now you can't say there's black elves anymore. Well, no one ever said there weren't black elves in the first place. They're just saying that it's not part of the Tolkien lore. It's pretty cut and dried.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. So let's get to the cherry on top of this article here. And then at the far end of the spectrum, there are the outrage brokers who use emotional manipulation to boost their channels or promote their own agendas. Hell yeah, that's right here what we're doing. we are doing that shit right now. Ranging from mainstreaming alt-right ideologies to the monetization of anger for clout. They get more than enough attention as it is, so the less said about them, the better. There's some cross-pollination between this group and the previous one, but the true hucksters are easy to spot. Look for inflammatory statements in all caps and words like woke, SJW, and normies used in the pejorative sentence. That's a pretty good sign there are ulterior motives behind the rant you're watching and has nothing to do with Lord of the Rings. Talk about gaslighting!
Yeah.
Oh my god! And then they quote the quartering here. He actually,
nice.
This was actually his quote right here at the end of his video the day before the show aired. So, okay, yeah. So there we have it. Gaslighting, projection, shilling for a multinational, multi-billion dollar corporation that does nothing but pump out cheap shit from China and put decent, watchable TV out there once in a while. Terminalist was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard The Samaritan's pretty decent. And there's other Amazon things I've heard that are decent.
They've had some good ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're not going to have decent shows. But this one's not. I mean, let me refresh real quick. So as of this morning, it was sitting at a 34% audience score. It's up to 35% now.
Ooh.
Can we see who scored it as what? No, I don't think we can. IMDb will show you the 10s and the 1s. I don't think Rotten Tomatoes shows you.
No, I don't think it breaks
average.
it down.
Okay, so what we're looking at is the average, which is frightening. I mean, I gave it a 5 only because the production quality, it wasn't the worst acted show.
You gave it a 5 on Rotten Tomatoes?
I gave it a 2.5 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is equivalent to a 5 on IMDb.
I'm like, you gave it a 5 on here?
No, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. That's, I thought, fair.
Yeah.
My review of it, nothing racial in my review here. I just wrote, the show so far is a hot mess. The lead, Galadriel, is insufferable. The script is CW levels of cringe, and the music is garbage, which I will stick with till the day I die. The music sucks.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Hodgepodge mess. I understand that making a show is far different than creating a standalone film or trilogy, but that is a risk you take when you embark on an endeavor of this size. There are specific scenes I could point to that made me cringe especially hard. Ironically, most of them involve the lead actress. Without getting into spoilers, not that anyone should care, she's a bona fide Mary Sue and doesn't try and hide it. Amazon pumped a ton of money into an IP that they didn't even attempt to understand or respect. All this on top of the show not being canon. If the show made no attempt at being connected to the Lord of the Rings universe, I might be able to give it a 6.5 to 7. But as a supposed prequel to the Lord of the Rings films, this show is embarrassingly bad in terms of quality and continuity. I think that's honestly the best way to sum it up. Mm-hmm. Oh, we gotta save that for later. Lord. Save that for later. But yeah, so to highlight the pluses and minuses, honestly, there's not many pluses. You can tell they spent a lot of money on effects. You can tell they spent a lot of money on scenery and stuff. It does seem that the actors are disconnected from the scenes, and I think that has to do with the amount of CG that they used instead of using actual sets. I feel like they green screened 99% of this movie. Yeah. Sorry, this TV show.
The costumes weren't good.
Costumes were not great.
The makeup was awful.
Oh, everyone had rosacea.
Everybody was pink-cheeked.
The Harfoots had this really shitty speckled red cheeks. Galadriel had it when she came back from traveling up north being boss bitch. Yeah, the makeup's not good. All the elves with the short haircuts, I'm like, what the fuck is this? There's just so much bad. Like, I honestly, the fact is, there's not a single like redeeming part of the show. It's just simply mediocre.
Yeah.
And the script is crap.
Oh, it's really bad.
The script is literally like somebody from the CW tried to write a Tolkien style script. But here's the problem. Unlike Lord of the Rings, that took the original books and embellished on the books where they didn't have enough dialogue or where they needed to have, change some dialogue, Peter Jackson did take some liberties with the script and the directing and change things, and it did piss a lot of us off, but we still can enjoy the movies.
Sure.
This is like, okay, we don't even have a single sentence from Tolkien to work with. Did you notice that there was one sentence in the entire first 2 hours of the show that was in Elvish? Everything else the elves
and we noticed
said,
that, and we were like, what? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, everything else the elves said was English because they fired their Tolkien expert. I guarantee you they don't have anybody on the set that can actually translate Elvish into English.
Yeah.
So the fact is, she's an unlikable bossy brat. She thinks the world of herself. She literally gets her men killed because of the fact that she can't let go of her own, like, headstrong determination.
Mm-hmm. But then she can kill
the troll. Yeah, she kills the troll in like this, leaping off the sword and swiping down and stabbing the troll. Even though in freaking Fellowship of the Ring, it took Gandalf, Aragorn, and everybody in the Fellowship in Moria, like everything they had to kill one fucking troll.
Right.
It's like, okay. And I know there are some inconsistencies in the movies. Return of the King, they do kill them a little bit easier. It's just, but the fact is, this particular troll is beating the shit out of all her men, and she just jumps around and kills it instantly. So yeah, the Mary Sue element is real. Is bad. Other than that, there is just nothing about the show that is connected to Tolkien properly. Bringing Gandalf in without calling him Gandalf, the Harfoots but not calling them hobbits, trying to literally hide the fact that the show is so poorly planned, poorly laid out, poorly written, and poorly conceived that you're going to throw some diverse casting in there as a buffer.
Yeah.
It wasn't diversity hires. I said on my other video, it was diversity buffering. Mm-hmm. They brought them in as a shield. And you know what? The one that played Queen Disa, I liked her acting.
Yeah, all of that was fine.
Yeah, she was surprisingly...
I didn't think about her race for 1 second.
No, she was surprisingly entertaining.
Yeah.
Most people have said, and I agree, the dwarves in the show were the only decently redeeming parts. Mm-hmm. The scenery was a little weird with the trees and the water, but the actual, like, the part with the dwarves I was okay with. It's just, this show is not Tolkien. They make no attempt at being Tolkien. They don't care.
They're just trying to piggyback off the success of that and the name.
Well, yeah, it's brand recognition. Yeah. It's 100% what it is. They don't care about the original stories. They don't care about the fans. They don't give a shit. It is what it is. Are you ready for the little shill? Are you ready for it?
What's a shill?
Well, if you enjoyed the podcast, feel free to like and subscribe, share the video. You see that little subscribe button that popped up? And you missed it. You missed it completely. We're going to do it one more time just for you. And there it is. Click like and subscribe. You can't see it.
I can't.
You can't see it. Oh, I feel so sorry for you. You'll have to go back and watch it later.
That's a bummer.
All right. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.